Tell me about just what is going on in Iran. It started with high commodity prices, correct, and then turned into the situation, unfortunately, at Metropole. Why don't you speak about just where this all began to break it down for those who are unaware?
Actually, when we want to talk about the protest and something happened to Iran, we have to flash back. It's not starting just today or last week or last 2 weeks. It's a start for a long time, from the revolution, after the revolution. A lot of situation and a lot of reason make that happen to Iran. People suffering in Iran because they don't have freedom, they don't have minimum right, and also the economic going worse to worse. Every government is coming, every president is coming, they just say some promise to people, we change everything, we make everything good, but it's not working. And they lying people, and they suppress people because they want to control everything in Iran. And the metropole happened in Abadan in Iran, or the economic situation, is just the only one reason to people coming to the protests. I want to attention to that point. A few years ago in Iran, that was the really bloody protest because of the gasoline. The gasoline is not the main issue. The main issue is a dictatorship. The main issue is the government. It's not just that one thing we can say, okay, for the gasoline or for the economic people coming. It's a lot of issue.
This is all a build-up.
Yes, all the build-up.
Mm-hmm. So the build-up, when did, in this situation, because the gas situation was in 2019, I believe 1,500 people were killed. This time, when did people start going out into the streets? Why don't you talk about the timeline this time, as you mentioned, is another build-up?
Yes. Actually, it's about almost 2 weeks that happened because of the new program of the new government for the economic, and the price is going super high right now for the food and for everything. And the government just lying to people, and they said we want to fix, but that doesn't work. And the metropole happened in Abadan, so in the news that building is coming down. That happened, and people ask the government why this happened to Iran, why you don't care about the people, why you don't care about the situation. But the answer is shoot, and the answer is killing people, arresting people, and for now we have a confirmation for 10 people exactly dead in the protest. But the problem is the government shut down the internet, and there is no news coming out right now. There is no picture, no record. A few record. It's really hard to coming out from the Iran, and I give it to you something, that one. The government never take a responsibility of the situation, and all the time told the people this is because of the sanction, because of the United States, because of the sanction, but it's not true.
And that's, one thing I want to ask you. For someone who's watching who's unaware, a building collapse, in this situation, why does that fall in the government's hands? I've heard of understanding of other buildings and just corruption and all of that involved in that as well.
Because, a selected group in the Iran has everything, and they can't turn around the law, they can't turn around everything. And those buildings, same as a metropole in Abadan, built by some people who has a connection with the high rank and the government. And even they don't have a minimum standard and for the something, but everything is just on the network connection, and they don't care about the people's lives. And before that, they get the more than 10 warning. For example, we talk about the metropole in Abadan, and they get the 10 warning from some engineer that building is not the standard and is dangerous, but they don't care, and nobody asks them, nobody care, because they have a connection with the high rank people in the government.
How significant do you see these current protests right now? I mean, how does this in any way compare to what we saw during the revolution in 1979?
Yes, actually, in my opinion, the government of Iran going to fall, and it could be very soon because uh, they lost the way, okay, and this way they going right now for arresting people or killing people is not the answer right now, okay, and people ask the government, we want the freedom, because right now in the revolution in 1978 we don't have internet, we don't have a lot of social media like that, but right now the people can connect each other in the internet, in the social media, and people has a knowledge right now what happened exactly in Iran. And if I want to point you to the speech of the supreme leader in Iran, Khamenei, yesterday, and my opinion is actually he knows that, he understands that the situation is not good, but they don't want to accept that. And this is the exactly big mistake of the government of Iran.
I wanted to ask you because it seems like, let me pull the exact, the Ayatollah said, today Iran's enemies try to pit Iranian citizens against the Islamic system through psychological warfare, the internet, and financial support. What is your response to hearing that? What is your response to the Ayatollah accusing the U.S. of supporting the recent protests in Iran?
We hear that a lot. This is the really old story, and it's not working anymore. Because I want attention to the people in the street. They said, our enemy is here, and the government lying. Our enemy is United States. Okay, people has a knowledge right now. People know what happened exactly. But because of the personality of the Ayatollah Khamenei, he don't want to accept that. He think he can control everything forever. But right now the situation is changed. We have a technology, we have a knowledge, people can read, can watch the news, even if they ban everything, even if you show everything you want in your television, people can find it easily in the internet. And that's the reason they have one plan in the Congress in Iran. They want to stop the world internet, and they want to have a control internet like China, like North Korea. That's the reason they want to do that. But I don't think so that could be successful.
And one thing is, Iran is known as one of the countries with the most human rights violations in the world. Is this proving that?
Of course it's proving that. And I think this is the time that another country like the United States, Europe, Australia, or another country, they have to choose the side. People of the suffering in Iran. I want to imagine we have a country with 80 million people, a corner of the world, the 80 million people hostage by the dictatorship government. And you cannot stand with that government anymore because you have to choose your side, because the future, when they look back in the history, they said, what are you doing exactly? Everyone knows the government of Iran, what happened. They are a criminal, they are a hostage, they are a dictator, there is no human right, there is no freedom, there is nothing. And right now the economic situation is bad too. And everything is built that one. And I believe the people of Iran need a really help right now.
So for this reason, you don't want countries like the United States doing any dealings with the government of Iran, including the nuclear deal?
Actually, I talked with a lot of people in Iran, my friend, my family, and a lot of people in the social media. If you check the Persian social media, Farsi social media, the people asked Mr. President Biden, do not deal with Iran, because that deal doesn't help the people. That deal doesn't stop the government of Iran for the stop nuclear bomb or something like that. Okay, they are not commitment on they promise. That deal just opened the hand of the government for more support the terrorists and more support they killed the people. The money is coming from the United States or another country to Iran doesn't go to the people table. Okay, it's going to the Lebanon, it's going to the Hezbollah, it's going to the Palestine, it's going to support the terrorists. I don't want to say the sanction doesn't affect the Iranian people's lives, but in the social media and the people who I have a connection with them in the Iran, they want to stop that deal. They wanted the United States stop negotiate with the terrorists because the Iranian government is a terrorist. And Iranian government is the biggest government who would support the terrorists outside of the border, and we know that. So I think that deal, it doesn't work, and it doesn't stop the Iranian government for making bomb or something like that.
I know the Ayatollah did, in his speech, say that the nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. Do you believe that?
No, no. From the revolution after 1978, I think the Iranian government shows in many years they're lying all the time, and they are not keep the promise. I think is really clear, and I don't think so. I don't believe them.
You know, we're hearing the internet is cut off in major cities across Iran. What does that speak to the significance of what is happening there right now, and why do that?
Because they suppress people. They suppress the protest and the demonstration in the street. And they don't want any picture, any record or anything coming out. And that's the reason they stopped the internet in many cities. When I talked with my family, they said even in the city there is no protest yet. It's like the curfew. It's a lot of security service and police is outside of the, inside the city, in the street, and they control everything. And because they're scared, because they know people right now are angry and they cannot do anything because the people who has a government and people who working with the people, everyone just thinking about themselves. They don't care about the people.
And you know, one thing you mentioned is people are scared. Knowing that they're scared, why are they out on the streets right now in such large numbers?
You know, because the situation is really going worse to worse. It doesn't matter who is president. It doesn't matter. Iranian people arrive to the point, the change president, it doesn't the answer. The change the government, it doesn't the answer. We need to change the regime. We need to change the everything, because when we talk about Iran, we see that that's the Islamic Republic of Iran. But there is no republic there. There is no freedom there. And people knows if they don't do that, if they are not coming to the street, and if they don't change the regime, nothing change with them. Because any money going to the just small selected people, and another money going to the outside of the border for Lebanon, for Palestine, for Hezbollah, and the people suffering in Iran.
So the goal is to essentially remove the idea of having a supreme leader.
Of course, of course. You know, the government in Iran, as a president government, honestly, they don't have enough power. The person who decided and make a decision for Iran is a supreme leader. And he's coming to the TV and said, yeah, no, I don't want to involve everything, but he is exactly person who'd make a decision for Iran. Doesn't matter who is president. And that's the reason I said the deal is not working, because even if the president make a deal, same as it happened here, that President Trump just take out from the deal, the supreme leader don't care about the promise which the government make it in the deal.
Do you think that what's going on in Iran right now and what we've seen over the past few decades, is it getting enough attention, whether it's through media or other parts of the world, and why?
No, unfortunately that doesn't happen. And we know that because some of media controlled by the government. And as I understand, I have to tell you, pointed to the news is coming last 2 weeks. They find that it's a one company in the Instagram, and they removed the video from the protest Iranian protest from the Instagram, and they get the money from the Iranian government, some people in this company. And unfortunately, there is no enough attention to the Iranian people. I want to repeat my dad's sentences. In the corner of the world, 80 million people hostage by the criminal government, and they need help. And they don't have a voice because the government control everything and shut down everything. We are here in the freedom land, and we have to be their voice, because the future judge about us, and there is a time we have to choose the side.
And to go further, you said one thing you don't want and Iranians don't want is for dealings with the supreme leader and Iran's government. But what can the U.S. do or other countries do? And on top of it, is there something that just community members can do?
Standing with the people. Standing with the people doesn't mean just coming on the TV and say, hey, we support you. They need a really support. We know a lot of the governor in Iran, their kids living in United States with the money. They can come into the United States with visa and living here, move the money here, and they do a lot of bad things here. Why the government of United States let them coming in? Why the government of the United States don't deport them? Okay, I want to give you the example. We noticed one of the people who live in San Diego, he is the son of the lady who hostage the ambassador in the Iran at about 79, 80. That happened.
The hostage situation.
Yeah, hostage situation. Why he can't come into the United States? Why he has a green card? But the normal people, for example, the normal people, when they want to meet their family, they cannot get a visa easily. So the standing with the people is not just the word in the TV. We have to make an act right now.
This is very personal for you. You are not allowed to go back, correct? Are you able to talk about any of that?
You know, that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to back. I can back, but I cannot guarantee my life in Iran. Because if I'm back to Iran, for sure they will arrest me, and I don't know what happened next. Never Iranian government said you cannot back to the country, but they know when you back to the country, you don't know what happened to you. They arrested you, they hostage you, they executed you. It's a lot of things bad happen, and that's the reason is almost 14 years. I came here as a political refugee, and because my life is not safe in Iran, I'm not able to back my country.
Why did you have to come to the U.S. as a political refugee?
I had a lot of human rights activity in Iran, and at the 2011, that Green Movement happened. I was in the Green Movement, and I was in the prison. And after that, when I came out from the Iran and applied as a refugee, and I came here.
You still have family there that you want to make sure is protected.
Yeah, that's the reason I came out from the Iran, because actually my life wasn't safe in Iran, and I'm worried about my family also, because I'm not able to protect them, and I don't know what happened to them. Every time they have it, get the call from the government, something happened to them, and that's not good.
Are you able to communicate with them right now with everything going on, or has that communication been cut off?
The communication, I have a communication with my family, but in past 2 weeks, because of the shutdown the internet, that was really hard. I communicate with them, and it's just two or three times in past 2 weeks I was able to talk with them. And that was very hard, and because the internet is shut down right now. Yeah.
Do you ever have fear of what their situation is and their safety?
Honestly, I don't know really, but when I talked with my brother, he said the situation is really scary, because when we go out of home and we go in the street, we see that a lot of police are there and a lot of undercover police, and they easily shoot the people. They don't care really, and the situation is really scary right now.
Mm-hmm. And it seems, you know, speaking with you, it's almost, it's still an emotional thing, but it's almost like, oh, it's another day, they're shooting people. It seems like it's just unfortunately something that sounds common there.
Yes, yes, exactly. But the problem is, when we talk about human rights in Iran, doesn't any mean in Iran. They don't. They have their own decision. They don't care about the human right. They don't care about the United Nations. They don't care about anything. They just care about control people and stay up, and nobody just ask them, and they do everything they want.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you talk about just what you're seeing in some of the videos, some of the chants that they're saying, just what's happening in some of the videos that have been sent to you? And from my understanding, these have been sent to you from some of the protesters in Iran.
It was very hard. Actually, I have to say first, because it was very hard I received that video because of the internet. But I want to point that one. If you pay attention to this video, the people what the people ask in the street is change. They are not talking. When I watch the news, sometimes I see the news said, yeah, that happened because of the gasoline, that happened because of the economic. No. The people in the street said, the first thing they said, dead with Khamenei, dead with dictator. Okay? So it doesn't affect the economy or something. People knows the main problem is the regime. If the regime doesn't change, nothing change. Yes, economy is problem, gasoline price is problem, but the big problem and the main problem is the regime, is the dictator, is the Mr. Khamenei, Ayatollah Khamenei, and they want to change of that. I want to say that when we're talking about the demonstration and protest in Iran, we shouldn't say, okay, that happened because of the economy. No, economy is the one small reason the people coming to the street.
And there are some videos also of the stadium. What is the significance of the stadium?
You know, Iran doesn't let the woman coming to the stadium, and because of that happened in past 2 weeks and some protests in Iran. The government of Iran said all the football game it's happened from the next week. There is no fan able going to the stadium, and they said because of the COVID-19. But we know that is not true, because almost 80% people in the Iran has a vaccine, and is almost a few weeks we don't have any death in Iran for the COVID-19. Sorry, for the COVID-19. They're scared that because they know when the people going to the stadium, they are together and they are union, and they yelling on the government. And if you look at that game past week in the stadium, nobody support the team. Everyone in the stadium said dead with Khamenei, and that happened actually for the first time in the Iran, and it's really big deal for the government because they never had like that, and that's the reason they stopped it, and they said, okay, after next game nobody can go to this stadium.
One of them was saying, I believe one of the chants was even mentioning Reza Pahlavi. How does that play into all of this?
I really respect him, but I think he hasn't enough charisma to leading that protest. You know, the people in Iran need a leader. Doesn't need somebody coming just read something and say, "Hey, we support you." No, we need to act. He's a really good man. The people in Iran like him. He could be a leader, but his act is not enough yet.
Why do you think, especially a lot of those young people who were shouting his name were too young or weren't even born when his father was in power? Why now are they making those chants?
Because they compare that one. They compare, we know we have a history, we have some video, we know is everything. And as I said, you passed, right now the knowledge of people is going up and up. Because of the technology, we can access to everything. And the people compare that regime with the past regime, Pahlavi regime, Shah. And for some times, when the revolution happened, the government of Iran lie a lot about the Pahlavi. And because of the mostly people doesn't access to everything to find the truth, the people believe them. Okay, but right now, the technology helped the people to access and compare and see what is the truth. And that's compare, make the people decision, okay, the revolution was the big mistake in Iran.
One thing to be very clear, the protesters who are out are acting very peacefully. The violence is coming from the government.
Yes, exactly. All the time the protest in Iran was peaceful. They just want to ask for minimum right, freedom, economic, freedom speech, and this is the really minimum right for every country. But all the time, the answer from the government was violence, was shooting, was arresting, and you cannot do it for a long time. You know, you cannot do it forever. We get the one point is doesn't answer, same as right now. The people coming to the street and they said, even you kill us, we stay in the street because we need our right. We need the freedom.
Are people at the point where they are willing to risk their lives to get that freedom?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because the new government shows they really don't, you know, that the new government is the best government. The Ayatollah Khamenei like it. He really support the president right now because is exactly the same way, and the people understand that where is the problem exactly. In past a few years, they find it where is the problem exactly, and if the problem doesn't change and it wasn't fixed, we are going to worse and worse and worse. We don't want to be Venezuela. We don't want to be like the Syria. We need the support. We need the freedom because we have a country which we have everything. We can have a good life in Iran. Iran is a rich country, but that money doesn't go to the people. Doesn't go to the selected people in the Iran and going to the support the terrorists, support the Palestine, and it's not good.
You said you believe that this time the regime will be overthrown and the government will be overthrown. What do you think is different this time that would allow that to happen?
When we look at the speech of the supreme leader in past few years, and when we look at the act of the government in past few years, we see they scared. And right now, the more people in Iran are union together, and everyone, when in the 2011, and also in the past 3-4 years of 2019, that was a really bloody protest. The people are scared because some people are scared and doesn't come out. But right now, the situation is hard because there is no future in the war, in the Iran for the people. And the people understand that right now. If they don't do anything, everything will be gone. And they don't have a future. And that's the reason Iran has a really, really big number for the immigrant people or people trying to immigrate from the Iran, because there is no future in Iran.
Right now, are the protests with thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, millions? What do you think?
As I my knowledge, because the internet is shut down and we don't get enough picture on record, but as our contact and we talk with the people, I understand in some city like the Abadan, Ize or Ahwaz or some city like that is more than 100,000 people coming to the street. In Tehran is a really big curfew right now, and they control the street completely by the police. But in another cities about 1,000 people, but I believe that's going up and more people coming, and I wish there is no blood in there and the government change the way and the people can get the point they wanted.
And right now they're using tear gas, they're shooting at protesters, and they're beating them with weapons.
Yes, exactly. As a number, I have it for confirmed right now, is almost for sure 10 people killed in Abadan, and actually it's more than 1,000 people arrested by the government. And but I believe the number is more than that because we don't have a connection yet. When the connection again is completely or internet back, we can get the good number. But I think his number is more than that we have it right now.
And because the government doesn't supply these numbers, how are you able to confirm and get this information?
We got the locally connection, and they send me some picture and some name and some political activity in Iran. They have a connection too. Right now we have a 10 name for confirm that they killed by the government in the protest. And this is the only way we can find it, because sometimes the people killed in the protest or killed in the prison, but the government make a fake document and shows, yeah, that person, for example, killed on the accident, and they push the family to don't talk about anything.
Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
That's it, but just honestly, I want to ask Mr. President Biden or the government of the United States, stop dealing with Iran. They are not keep the promise. They are not do stop for the and doesn't make the nuclear bomb or something like that. Don't believe the government of Iran and don't negotiate with the terrorists.